We'll begin by taking the items in order that they appear on the calendar. We'll start with item number 1.
Item number 1, Information Technology Agency report relative to Time Warner Cable TV Enhancement Project and possible temporary service disruptions between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Good afternoon, council members, Cardenas and Parks, William Imperial ITA. In regard to the notice that was provided by Time Warner, they have begun upgrades in their former Comcast area, franchise areas that cover basically most of the city of Los Angeles. These upgrades that they're making will affect subscribers and will affect city facilities during the time that they're doing these upgrades. They have notified the city that these upgrades will be performed between the hours of 12 and 6 a.m., but whether that will affect those services during that period of time is unknown at this time. I've spoken with the Time Warner representative, and he informs me that he's not certain as well either. We haven't been getting very many calls. We did have a cable cut today, by the way, that lasted about an hour in the Palisades area. So these things are going on, and they will impact services to the city subscribers in the former Comcast areas.
Now, when people call us, do we sit there and tell them we feel for them, or is there anything we can do about it?
Well, if the outage lasts more than 4 hours, they're entitled to a full day of refund or credit for that period of time.
Who enforces that, the city or the state?
The city will enforce that. The city continues to remain with the authority to enforce state and federal consumer service standards. And Time Warner has so far been very cooperative in providing those credits and refunds depending on what is going on since their takeover of these two systems.
Any questions? No. Okay. Is there anybody here to speak on item number 1 from the public? Public comment is open on item number 1. Seeing and hearing nobody come forward on item number 1. Public comment is closed on item number 1, so we'll note and file the ITA report. Thank you. We'll now go to item number 2.
Item number 2, ITA report relative to Verizon CCTV4 Chinese International Package and KABC2 switch to high definition.
Thank you. William Imperial again from the Information Technology Agency. We were notified by Verizon that after June 4th, 2009, the Chinese International package that they offer to their subscribers will also provide access to CTI Zongtian content for the amount of $9.99 per month. They will be giving a courtesy credit for the first 2 months of subscription to the Chinese International package, and the upgrades will occur on or before June 20th. In addition, ABC will switch the content of KABC2 to high definition, and they will be carrying KABC2 because of the digital transition on high definition. And that completes my report.
Do you speak Mandarin?
Not often, if at all.
What?
No one would understand me.
What do we do when somebody calls and is speaking Cantonese or Mandarin or what have you? Do we try to somehow get enough information to have somebody call them back? Or?
Yes, we do. We use our 311 operators in that instance to assist us, and we usually are successful in getting the information that they need to them.
Okay. So they're not sending you to school to learn Mandarin?
Not as yet, but it appears that I may have some extra time on my hands.
Call me, I'll tell them don't do it.
Yeah, but it appears I may have some extra time on my hands.
Busy enough.
All right.
Is that time furlough related or just vacation?
I believe so. Let me ask Mark Wolf from ITA, my executive office. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
Okay. We're on item number 2. It's now open for public comment on item number 2. Is there anybody here from the public who'd like to speak on item number 2? Seeing and hearing none, public comment on item 2 is now closed. With that, we'll note and file the ITA report.
Councilman Parks, I will take you up on your suggestion then. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving now to item number 3.
Item number 3, City Clerk report relative to authorizing the All City Employee Benefits Service Association to enter into a non-exclusive license agreement to sell merchandise bearing the city seal pursuant to Los Angeles Municipal Code Section 63.108.
Good afternoon, Glenn Robinson from the Office of the City Clerk. Before you today is a draft of a non-exclusive license agreement with ASIPSA, the All City Employee Business All City Employee and Benefits Association, pardon me. It's very similar to a license that we recently awarded to LACEA. It's to sell merchandise with a city seal on it. The key terms to the agreement, it is a 5-year license agreement. The merchandise is only available for the purchase by ASIPSA members who are either active or retired. They will pay a royalty rate of approximately 3% of their gross, which is about $2,000 a year. The funds go into the Intellectual Property Trust Fund. They report to us on a quarterly basis where we review their gross receipts and confirm the commissions to the city, the royalties to the city, that is. All of the articles and the packaging, they are all reviewed and approved by the city clerk. And they all should be labeled that the City of Los Angeles seal is a trademark of the City of LA and used with permission.
No. Okay. There are no questions from the committee. Is anybody here to speak on item number 3? Public comment is open on item number 3. Seeing no one come forward for public comment on item number 3, public comment is now closed. With that, the committee approves the city clerk report.
Thank you.
We now move to item number 4.
Item 4, City Attorney Report, resolution relative to request to destroy certain obsolete records from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, General Accounting Division for the period of July 1st, 1999 through September 17, 2005.
Okay. I'm Eileen Shapiro with the City Clerk's Office, Records Management Division. Item number 4, the request to destroy obsolete records from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment has been requested for destruction by that department, has been approved by the city clerk and also approved by the city attorney. Now it's before your committee requesting approval.
Okay. Are any of the documents related to expenditures toward neighborhood councils?
So these documents that are before you are just expenditures for the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. There's a separate record retention schedule. In fact, I brought it with me that covers the neighborhood council expenditures. And they have neighborhood council funding requests that's under their schedule for the neighborhood council funding program. And their retention is longer. It's an 8-year retention.
So it does not involve those?
No, it does not.
Okay. Any questions?
I just have one question, and I don't know how factual it is, but during the budget discussion, our soon-to-be controller was saying that one of the audits she had interest in was to audit done and its operation, and I'm just wondering, I don't have a clue how far she's going to go back. I'm just wondering whether it would be premature to destroy records if that is her ultimate intent, to look into the operation and the funding and how funding has been spent in the department and by the neighborhood council members.
I don't know if the Department of Neighborhood Council, the Department on Neighborhood Empowerment would like to answer that question.
Jacqueline Mendez, Department of Neighborhood Empowerment Administrative Services Division. In light of the budget deliberations, we are more than happy to extend the time period of retention, if that is the intent of the council, for our to conduct audits of our department. But just to reiterate what Eileen mentioned, none of these records pertain to neighborhood council funding program. They are all department internal operating documents.
I think that's what she expressed, and what we might clear it up. Might just be a phone call to her office and find it, but at least that's what was stated during the budget.
Okay.
And so it appears she was interested in an audit of the operation of the department and an audit of how funds were expended by the councils themselves. So
All right.
I would just not like to move these numbers of years, because some of 205 would be fairly current, to see whether that limits her review.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Is there anybody for public comment on item number 4? Seeing no one come forward for public comment on item number 4. With that, we'll hold the item in committee for 2 weeks,
Okay.
pending the confirmation with the controller-elect on this side. Okay? And Eduardo, you follow up with Wendy's office as well? Okay. All right, this item will be held over in committee for 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Now we're on item number 5. Thank you.
Item number 5, City Attorney Report and Resolution relative to a request to destroy certain obsolete records from the City Clerk Election Division for the period of January 1st, 1987 through June 30th, 1998.
Okay, this is another request to destroy obsolete records. The election division, these are records for personnel records of temporary employees and one box of Robert Farrell recall petition. And these records have, of course, met their retention time period. They've been requested for destruction by the City Clerk Election Division. It's been approved by the City Clerk and also been approved by the City Attorney, and now it's before your committee for the request for approval to destroy the records.
And these records are from 11 and 12 years ago, correct?
Yes.
Any questions? Okay. Seeing no more questions from the committee, item number 5 is now open for public comment. Is anybody here for public comment on item number 5? Seeing and hearing no one come forward for public comment on item number 5, with that, the committee approves the city attorney report and resolution. Thank you. Now move to item number 6.
Item number 6, CAO report relative to proposed supplemental agreement number 4 to contract number C-101701 with Unicy Corporation for consultant services related to the operation of Los Angeles business tax system and related matters.
Good afternoon. I'm Jacob Wexler with the Office of the City Administrative Officer. Before the committee is an amendment to the ITA's contract with Unisys for support of the LA tax or Los Angeles business tax system. The amendment extends the term of the contract for 8 additional months without increasing the funding amount. Unisys provides assistance with sort of complex pressing problems that require a higher level of expertise or a quick resolution for that system. ITA has had a challenge in the past with filling and retaining, finding staff and keeping staff that are able to perform some of this work for this system, and it's working on a plan right now to adjust the program so it's on a new platform that will be more that it has a broader skill set that it can maintain the system more effectively. The report recommends approval of the amendment. It is noted that there was, at the time of the report, the contractor had not complied with the insurance requirements of the city, but since that time they have gone ahead and submitted their insurance documents. So that's all been taken care of.
Okay. Any questions?
Let me just ask, and maybe it's just the way it's written, on the CAO's report, and this is where I think we get some misinterpreted. On the first paragraph, it says there's no increase in the compensation or change in the scope of work. In reading that in this context, it would appear there are no funds that are being distributed for this extension. But as you go further, you find out we have $147,000 that's already dedicated.
Correct. Yeah. The initial statement was intended to represent that the compensation limit in the contract does not need to be increased. But you are correct that there is additional spending that will happen throughout the term of the contract.
But I'm just saying, is the way it's written, again, unless you're going to go over it with a microscope or something, it gives a impression that there's no compensation change. Well, often what we need is to follow that up with saying there's $147,000 in the contract that we intend to use, because, again, if you don't read every word, you get somewhat a misimpression that we're not spending money. Because the first reaction I had when I read the first paragraph is, why would they do another 7 or 8 months for free? And then as you go on, you find out, as you always, nothing's for free.
Right.
And the other thing I think we've talked about on this contract, if I'm not mistaken, this is the contract that we were going to do an off-the-shelf, and it was going to not be proprietary, and it got switched in the middle, and we still haven't trained people to take it over. And it appears now we're talking about transitioning it to another platform before we even have people qualified to take it over. If we go to another platform, are city employees then going to be able to take it over, or are we going to still be paying Unisys on contract extension 10, 12, and 15 down the road?
The hope is that by moving it to another platform, the platform will be something that the city staff will be more able to to support. The PeopleSoft platform, which is what it's currently on, is what they've had a hard time hiring and retaining staff for. But the idea is if we move it to something that's more common, that there's more
Is that what the 147 is to move it, or are we going to be asking for more money to move it, or is that an internal project?
understanding that it's internal, but I will defer to
Okay.
Beverly Dembo.
Beverly Dembo from ITA. If you have a look, the original amount in the contract was $164,000, and we've used a minimal amount that does reflect that we have made some knowledge transition. So this becomes more of a lifeline than anything else, and especially with the reduction for the new fiscal year in the staffing of LA Tax, this is a lifeline for if there's a crisis, especially during the busy season, or if there's an extremely complex area of code we need to make changes to.
But now, is the change to the platform a given, or is that something you're going to come back and ask for more money, or is that something ITA is going to do?
If we
for
were
the-
to change the platform, we would in all likelihood come back and ask for more money. We are currently doing 2 separate studies with 2 different firms who are kind of doing it pro bono for some recommendations for replatforming. And it's not just a knowledge issue, but the technology is unusual and becoming obsolete. So not only is it difficult to train our people, it's difficult to find people out in the world with that skill set.
All right, so this is what going on over, it's not 10 years old yet. Is it?
Yeah, probably, I'm sorry, it is not 10 years old.
Carl Sampson, Office of Finance. The system was implemented in November of 2004, so we're just short of 5 years in
Okay, on
production.
something of that nature, would we go obsolete that quickly?
Unfortunately, the combination of technologies, which is an Oracle database with a Power Builder programming language, is fairly unusual, and the version of Power Builder that we're on is reaching its end of life.
Now, if this is the one I'm thinking of, had we not made it a proprietary system, would we be in the same boat?
Probably if it was a off the shelf, then the vendor would be doing the maintenance and we would be paying out an annual maintenance.
Okay. I mean, would we reach this 22 million, or is that because of how it was built?
Difficult for me to speculate because I don't.
Yeah, and I think really it's a matter of, the technology that's in place. Power Builder is still used in the industry today. However, it's getting a diminishing market share in terms of people that actually use that language. And it's still something that's still supported by the vendor. And I think the question is, over the long term, will it be cheaper for the city to migrate it to a new platform, or will it be less expensive just to continue down the route with Power Builder? And that's what we need to go through that exercise to determine what is the best approach and what's the path.
If we go to the route of transferring it to another platform, do we have, has anybody scoped out what that may cost?
We're in the process of scoping it out, and we're looking at the possibility of using an automated tool to literally transform the code. So we will have some recommendations probably in the next 3 to 6 months.
Was that kind of what we were going to do when we created LA Tech initially?
No, I don't think that wasn't the plan when we initially created LA Tax. At that time, again, it was envisioned as being an off-the-shelf package where, the vendor would be maintaining that package and selling it to a number of different organizations, and we would be just another customer. We would still have to have an outlay of funds and expenditures for support for the vendor, but that would all be done within the vendor's operation. And so through the course of the process, it evolved into a package where the city then became the owners of that. And so at that time in 2004, Power Builder still was, a viable and predominant package that was out there in terms of application development. And it's just as far as the industry has sort of migrated to other technologies and other languages where now we're kind of caught in having to make a decision.
Did anybody else purchase the system as was originally planned?
As it was originally planned, no.
'Cause the thing is, and it's something that we bring up each time, the one thing, if I remember correctly, our goal was to not build something that only we had. And then when it grows old, we're the only ones that are responsible for fixing it, as opposed to having something that was fluid and viable that we can keep upgrading, that was off the shelf. And somewhere in between, we got off track and it became a system that only Unisys could support, and we're up to $22 million and growing, and then it's outdated, and we're about where we were in 2004, saying, what direction should we go in? I mean, so, it's just one of the things that we have on major systems. We just don't seem to get it right the first time, and it costs us literally millions and millions of dollars going to system after system, and I just get concerned, and that's why we've insisted that, and I don't know if it helps at all, but it at least gives us a little cushion that we have major systems. We want the CAO and the CLA and the mayor's office involved, so at least we have someone to blame, because normally when we have departments here, the person that was here in 2004 is gone, and so therefore we're carrying on more money, but the persons are, in the hinterlands. And so we just, on these major systems, it just seems like we got to get our arms around them to where if we start off saying it should be a off-the-shelf, and we're going to have the flexibility of an off-the-shelf, and we don't want something only we own, that we need to stay in those tracks for the long term.
Mark Wolf with ITA. Councilman, I think you bring up some very good points. I must say, though, over the last decade, I think that we've learned some valuable lessons from the large IT projects like this, whereby we are really now moving forward with implementations of off-the-shelf systems that we are configuring as opposed to customizing to exactly avoid the type of situation that we are in now. The one thing I can say, though, on behalf of the LA tax system is that the original legacy system that was the predecessor to LA tax was a system that had probably 40 to 50% of the functionality and capability of what exists in the current system. So the current LA tax system is really leaps and bounds in terms of capabilities and functionality of what it does is much broader. We've really expanded the automation for this business area. So in that sense, the lessons that we learn in terms of documenting business processes and automating business processes can transfer over to a new system. So it's not money that is not spent wisely in that sense.
We got an expensive lesson, is what you're saying.
Well, I think that it helped us, one, understand how to automate the processes for Office of Finance for business tax purposes, and two, and set in place the rules that we have today. And second, like I said, it will be far ahead. The process of moving from this system to a new platform will not take near the effort that it took to move us to where we are
Can you say
today.
within a few months we'll have the cost of that?
I would say within 3 to 6 months.
What happens December 2009 when this contract is up? What happens in the sense of us getting these lifeline services, or because we certainly won't have the transition done before then. So do you come back for contract extension 15?
Possibly. As you can see, our use of the contract is extremely minimal at this point, and we hope that it continues to be that way. And in hindsight, we probably should have extended the term out a little bit further.
I mean, because eventually you're going to need this until you transition, right?
Yes, you are correct.
And are there funds in the system for that, or you come back?
I think the funds we currently have remaining attached to that contract would cover us through whatever term we needed at this point.
Okay, that's in the contract itself.
The remaining $147,000.
So the 147 will take you to what you think would be the transition period.
Believe that.
Okay. Would we need that in the contract to extend December 2009 to do that? Or as it appears from the contract here, we're saying 2009, you're going to use 147, and then it's, I guess, a handshake if you get beyond December 2009, or is the CAO saying, put some more money into it?
Well, our sense from the department, we asked them how much they had spent to date, and I think it was in the course of $20,000 as of March sometime. That was for 2008-09. So our sense is that, as Beverly's saying, the spending has decreased in rate, and that the 147 is more than enough, certainly for the term, and probably based on that rate for the entirety of 2009-10. Like you say, the question is then how long, if there is a transition, how long is that going to take? At this pace, theoretically, it could go on, that amount could be sufficient for quite some time, but, who knows what kind of things come up.
All right, well, we'll see a report shortly that says what the transition and also what the costs are.
Yes, we will have that within the next 3 to 4 months.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. Is anybody here to comment on item number 6? Item number 6 is open for public comment. Seeing and hearing no one come forward on item number 6 for public comment. Public comment is now closed. With that, we'll approve the CAO report. That concludes the items as scheduled on today's agenda. Therefore, we open up the committee for general public comment. Is there anybody here to speak on items relevant to the committee but not on the agenda today? Is anybody here for general public comment? Seeing no one come forward for general public comment is now closed. This committee is now adjourned.